We were created from the environment. You know, religious people will tell you, oh, they created the environment and they stuck humans on top, Genesis kind of story. Scientists will say, oh, it was just an accident of genetics mutations that were here. And it's like, no, every organism was an integral part of the evolution of a larger, the biosphere is the living organism. We're part of it. Well, if we're part of the biosphere, we're derived from the biosphere, then there's a simple logical question. If you destroy the biosphere, what the hell are your chances of surviving? And the answer is no. And that's exactly what science has shown us, that we are now have passed a very critical point in destroying the environment, threatening our own survival. I mean, the simple fact that's scary, if you think about it, within 30 years, there will be no fish in the ocean at the rate we're going right now. It's like, that's almost like science fiction story.
It's crazy, yeah.
So why is it important? Because the conclusion is human behavior is causing it. And Einstein, he had a great saying. Einstein said, you can't solve the problems with the same thinking that created the problems. Well, the institutions that we are living by today are the cause of the problem. So the crash of the institutions is a necessary step in the evolution, because you can't build a sustainable world on those belief systems. They're the systems that are causing the destruction of the environment that we live in now.
Do you ever consider the possibility that all behavior, all life on this planet is natural, and that there's a reason why people are so selfish and so destructive, and yet also so ambitious and so prone to technological creations and pushing things forward? It's almost like that's what we're supposed to do. It's a strange thing. It's almost like to be as ambitious as people are to create for technological innovation. Today they're announcing that they may have spotted the Higgs boson particle or boson particle. They may have spotted. They don't know. They have evidence they have to go over. I mean, this is right at the peak of human innovation. It seems like it almost seems like we have to be this fucked up to do it this way. And this is what we're driven to do. Is that possible? That since like every other animal has like a natural pattern of behavior, is it possible that the human animal's natural pattern of behavior is to almost like give birth to some technological creation?
Okay, there's two parts to that question. The answer to technological innovation is indeed the evolution process itself. Think about this. We have a tendency when we're humans to look down at everything less than human as not being as intelligent, right?
Right.
And then I'm going to tell you, you're made out of 50 trillion cells, like amoebas, 50 trillion amoebas living in a community. They created a technology to make a human body. They created technology.
The amoebas did.
They created the structure for us. The body was created by these cells, okay? We can't even reproduce the technology of the cells because they're far greater efficient than we are. Matter of fact, that would be our direction of evolution, is to see what they've done. But why is this important? Because the technology is part of the evolution. The idea of technology is simple. Can we live in the so-called, if you want to use like a Garden of Eden, that there was a garden here before we destroyed it. And the fact is, if you want to live in the garden without destroying the garden, technology is a requirement because it reduces the footprint so we can live here without devastating the environment around us, okay? So that technology is a built-in drive. Is the behavior that we're expressing during this part of that? No, the behavior is programmed. What you're talking about is the manifestation of Darwinian theory as a scientific fact, which it isn't. But what's the basis of theory? It says life is a struggle for survival with a competition for fitness. And what does it mean? Is that every day you go out there and struggle to beat the other guy. Why? Because the theory says if you don't struggle with the other guy, they'll beat you, so you have to beat them first. And we've been playing that game since Darwin.
Right, and that's the competition game.
That's the competition game. And the garden was, if you think about it, a garden doesn't survive by competition. A garden survives by cooperation. As a matter of fact, that's what the evolution is all about. It's cooperation in the biosphere, and we're the most uncooperative life form in the garden.
Isn't the argument to that the competition is what breeds the innovation?
Well, that's why, I said that,
I don't agree with it necessarily.
I don't know, and I don't want to say yes or no, but I will say this, that there was a good reason for living this way to a certain point, because it got us to a certain point.
Right.
But continuing that process is where the problem comes from.
And you see that is the recognition of that is why the whole human race seems to be like putting the brakes right now on this conventional culture, putting the brakes on this society that we've accepted up to this point. It doesn't seem like people want to accept that anymore. It seems like people
it's not
are
sustainable.
Yeah, they're seeing that it's ridiculous, and they're seeing that our leaders aren't really leading us,
Absolutely.
and they're seeing that everyone seems to be bought and paid off, and everyone's hitting the brakes. Everyone's going, stop this thing.
Exactly.
Stop it.
Yeah, because it's time to build something that takes into consideration not the few that possess the power. You see, look, we can talk about, and I talk about the biology and the nature of the mind controlling the behavior and the biology of women lifting cars, drinking strychnine, the powerful nature you are.
Do we know what actually physically does? I mean, is it adrenaline? What is the actual physical thing that happens to their body that allows them to do amazing things?
It's exactly the same thing that the strychnine drinker has. Absolute belief that there's no, my child is under this car. There's not even a concept of, can I lift the car? She never asked that in her head. It was, I'm lifting the car because my baby's under the car.
Right.
It's absolute belief. It's the same as walking across the hot coals, the drinking the strychnine, lifting the car. The things you have that absolute belief in, you can do powerful things beyond anything, except that's why I said go back and look at our programming. Our programming is, we've been programmed to perceive ourselves as frail and vulnerable. In fact, we're farthest thing from that, except for this. And this is an interesting story about the upheaval. And that goes like this. You look at the world and you say, look, am I powerful? Maybe, okay, I'm not so powerful. Boy, there's some very powerful people over there. And then you might say, well, how did they get to be so powerful? This is the joke, and it's on us. They didn't get more powerful. They just took away the power from us. We've been programmed to be disempowered. And the fact is, that's what...
You think this has been a conscious thing?
It's been propagated. Look,
but
I'll give you, here's a fact. Think about it this way. The Jesuits have boasted for 500 years. They said, give me a child until it's 6 or 7, and it will belong to the church for the rest of their lives. What did they know? They already knew that if I get the first 6 years of programming, I own your life. They knew that. They boasted about it. And why is that important? Well, you think that's a minor thing that just would have slipped away in history, that you can control the population by programming the first 6 years of their lives? The thing is, are you kidding me? That's fundamental to the leadership of whoever is in leadership capacity. And if you want to reference, think about this. There's a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And this is a book about power, empowerment, and disempowerment. And what's the point? People from poor families will grow up and remain poor, and people from rich families will generally grow up and remain rich. Is it genetics? No. It's the programming that the rich give to their family, which is completely the opposite of the programming the poor give to their family. It's not the individual, it's not the person, it's the programming. And this is not new. This is 500 years of boasting that fact, not much. I mean, they didn't keep it a secret. They actually said, this, you just give me the kid for 6 years, belongs to the church for the rest of its life. They knew.
It's kind of like this whole theory that
hey, Brian, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. It's really fucking loud in that other room, man. It's picking up on this mic, and it's going to come through on the podcast.
I have the master. It sounds fine.
But you don't hear it? Isn't it distracting?
No.
Okay, it's distracting to me.
Turn down your headphones. Your headphones are really loud.
How do I do that?
But the whole follow this thing. The whole thing with it kind of follows the fish in the fish tank, or like how big is the fish tank, and how big the fish is going to grow. Almost, it's like kind of the same thing. You know, in some ways, the fish knows its environment,
yes.
So it's going to grow. I mean, does it have anything to do with that at all?
Well, it's basically they know their world and they read their world, and we're having problems recognizing our own world. We've been programmed not to be sensitive to the experience. That's why indigenous people, the Indians, the Aborigines, all these people, man, they can tell you where the water is, even if you can't see it. It's under the ground. They can tell you what's going on in their world around them. We are so disconnected. We have no idea.
But how did this happen? Do you think that this is a natural occurrence? Do you think that this all happened because this is the way we would be so innovative? This is the way we would push forward regardless of the health and safety of each other and of the planet itself?
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation because you have to go back and say, when did this group of individuals, which isn't a large group at that, decided at one point they were helping us as parents, I'm helping you guys. I know more than you, so I'm gonna help you become better. Okay, but then there's a point where maybe their knowledge is so limited that they're thinking inside the box when the knowledge is outside the box. So the question is it a conspiracy because they want to control us, or is it a conspiracy not as such, but like a parent saying, look, the people don't know what the hell they're doing. We got to help them. We got to guide them and all that. It's a toss-up. Was this conspiracy or helping? I have no, the whole idea is this. They're involved with either of those two reasons. They're the problem that we have right now because their thinking is not up to the current awareness of science. And you say, but why is that relevant? And the answer is simple. It's like the world we live in sees truth based on whether science says it's true or not. Is this true? Oh, science said so. Yeah, it must be true. Well, if the science is limited, then the knowledge is power. Lack of knowledge, lack of power. If the science is not fully knowledgeable and limits it to that little narrow knowledge, then we've limited our power. And the fact is, there's new science that undermines all this stuff that you learned in school, all this stuff I taught in medical school. That science is, in the last 15 years, man, it's a revolution. And the revolution is the rebels in the front. The old guard is still in the back with the old textbooks with outdated information. It's totally outdated.
Does it become an ego issue at that point, with people are teaching one thing for their whole life and then they don't want to change?
I don't know if it's a habit. It's a habit. This is the way I know it. It's the only way I know it. I mean, look, there was a time before quantum physics, the only physicists were the Newtonian physicists, the ones that only saw the mechanical material world as real and didn't consider the invisible realm as anything. Quantum physics comes in and says it's the invisible realm that is actually shaping the physical realm. Energy shapes matter. And it's like, well, if you're a Newtonian physicist up until, let's say, 1924, and 1925, the belief changes. 1924, you're teaching the world as a mechanical machine. You've done this for 30 years. And then all of a sudden, a few minutes later, you say, no, guess what? All that's wrong. It's all completely different. And it's like, you've spent your whole career doing this. What are you going to change tonight? It's not going to happen.
So what do those guys do? They just put the brakes on everything?
They squash it down. They keep it repressed. And it's interesting because...
that's so disgusting.
Well, there's a statement that says...
Isn't it really?
Yeah, but there's a statement that answers that. It says, progress in science is measured tombstone by tombstone.
Wow.
Meaning you have to wait for them to die before you can get the new thought.
Isn't that amazing? And it's just the ego, right?
Absolutely. And the money. No, the money.
Money, too.
The money is big. The money is big. The healthcare costs in the United States are sinking the entire country just on the bills of that alone. And that's totally inhumane. It's inhumane by definition. It is, and it's a business entity, and medicine is a business entity. It is not a healing entity. If you got healed, the whole business would collapse. So guess what? How come with all the money and all the technological advances, we're spending more money now than we've ever done, having more health care than we ever had, and we have the sickest population we ever had?
This is the sickest population we've ever had, really?
Yeah. The population,
is that a numbers issue? Just there's too many of us? Is that what it is?
No, it's just that we misunderstand how our lives work. We think we're like machines, and you go to the pharmacy guy and he puts a medicine in there, and all of a sudden you got some new parts, and it's like, no, there is a part like aspect of your body. Your body's like a vehicle for sure, but the mind is the driver. So the driver's been left out of medicine. All they talk about is, the vehicle's broken, keep fixing the vehicle. It's like, there's a driver in there. If the driver's got some shitty driver education, man, he's going to destroy the vehicle. And the answer, that's where the problem came from.
So is what we're experiencing really a step in the evolution of what we're going to become? And so these problems and all this rebellion against the standard behavior that we've fed into for so long, is all of this like a step in an evolution to something
One of
else?
the most important steps in the world, for a simple reason. If the institutions that we are living by now have created the problem, then there's a simple understanding. You cannot build a sustainable future on those institutions.
So you think this is a consciousness step? Is that what it is?
Absolutely. It's the people waking up to who they are. As people stop being the blind sheep that are being led to the slaughter every day by those people who know who they are. The fact is, if I program you to be weak and ineffective, I program you... here's the interesting fact. being black in this country is a totally negative aspect. They took black students.
Unless you want to play basketball.
Well, there's an issue about that too, but and that's part of the problem of that's a trade-off when you grow up in a threatening environment. The fetus will